buy fuel ever again. Good. Anybody else out there? Y'all like to buy gas from gas stations, or would you like to stop buying gas from gas stations, huh? Yeah, all right, that's more like it. All right, so believe it or not, we have arrived at the point where we can make fuel from the air using the sun. We can make kerosene, diesel, and jet fuel from the air using the sun. And bonus, we get to keep breathing. And you're like, well, what's the connection? Well, it turns out that excess carbon dioxide comes out of the air as carbonic acid, acidifies the ocean, and dissolves the shells of the phytoplankton that makes 70% of the Earth's oxygen. The tropical oceans have already lost 40% oxygen production in just the last mere 50 years. That's a really steep decline, folks. So it turns out we don't need to know what the IPCC models are. We don't need perfect models. It's all in the geological history. Earth has already run the experiment. We just got to go look at the old book that's buried in the ground or sticking out of, cliff faces. It's all right there. And what we know is, if we don't stop the acidification of the ocean, that's it for most oxygen-breathing life, which obviously includes us, because we're large creatures. We got a big brain, eats a lot of oxygen. So some guy up in Montana, he might not care about, global warming or sea level rise, but I bet he likes to breathe oxygen, because I know I do. The lucky thing is, we're not volcanoes. We can stop putting CO2 in the air, eventually, and we can take it out. So, University ETH Zurich has invented a way to take a common lens polishing compound, so it's $2 a pound on Amazon, called cerium oxide.
Cerium oxide!
Yeah! I love having a cheering squad. And you heat it up to 1500 degrees, you feed moist air in, syngas comes out the other end. Syngas is carbon monoxide, because it's split off in oxygen, the free oxygen. And of course, it split the water too, so you got more oxygen and hydrogen, all of which is flammable. Very nicely flammable. So you feed that into a chemistry set called redox, and you can get long carbon chains out of it, such as, but not limited to, kerosene. Kerosene is the basis of lots and lots of processes, not just burning. But for now, let's just focus on the burning, because that's what we're doing with it here, mostly. All these diesel engines around us clattering right now, solar, just like that. Solar, just like that. I mean, can you imagine an easier way to go solar than if you have a liquid battery that you pour into the tank that's already designed for kerosene? All the pumps, the valves, everything is already designed for it. You don't need more lithium mines. You don't need a big fat stinking grid. I mean, can you imagine the size of the power grid to recharge a 747 jet full of explosive lithium batteries? How many explosive lithium batteries do you need to fly across the Atlantic in a plane that's 380,000 pounds empty? That's a lot of lithium batteries. Any one of those goes haywire and kaboomy. And hydrogen, oh wow, that's gonna be some awesome video. Can you imagine a hydrogen car in a traffic accident in Russia? Oh, that's gonna be epic. Can't wait. Anyway, we can do this. We now have the means to extract carbon dioxide, make diesel and jet fuel, and that's not even the best part. The best part is, after all these combustion engines have finally been retired, say 40, 50 years from now, we can change that redox to a solid. We can start making bricks and roadways and stuff you can sell. So the tower already paid for itself making diesel and jet fuel, and now you're just paying maintenance. You're just maintaining the thing. You don't have to build them anymore unless you want to. Now it's making solids, and now we make Earth again. We return Earth to what it was before the Industrial Revolution. We can still have our technology. We can still have our farms. There are other people working on those things. They're very valid.
Make the Earth green again!
That's right. Make the Earth green again.
Make the Earth green again!
Now that's a hat I can wear. And it won't be red either. So that's the basics. I'd say from now on, it's questions. Does anybody have any let me know, how would your life be different if you didn't have to buy fuel anymore? You could make your own. How would your life be different? Anybody?
Also, question: are you talking about individuals at their house or in their
Eventually, yes.
apartment are going to do this?
And right now, it's a pilot program. They got 2 pilots in Europe. I want to build one more here and run it around. And I'm going to make a little one, like 5 feet long, just to take it around and demonstrate it. Because now with deepfake videos, if I made a video, people wouldn't believe it. And they'd be right to question it, because you can make deepfake videos that show you anything these days. So instead of that, I'm like, I'm going to go back to the way we did it in the 19th century. I'm going to walk this thing around, well, drive it. I'm going to drive this thing around and show it off. I'm going to have 12-year-old kids come up out of the audience, like hold the parts, carry it around, show it to people, and then put the thing together and turn it on and have fuel come out of it probably 20, 30 minutes later. It takes a while to heat up 1,500 degrees. So, you know, the idea is we just show people this is possible, because so much of what's going on now in the world is nihilism. You know, the trolls are out there telling us the earth is flat and that viruses don't exist, or whatever weird thing they come up with next week. The point is not our virus is real. The point is not is the earth flat. The point is
The earth is a cube!
there you go, it's a cube.
Cube Earth Theory 2020!
That's right. That's the next one, cube.
Yeah!
And so the point
Joshing
is,
with ya.
they don't care if you actually agree with them. They just want you to lose a connection to your fellow people and just like give up. Like, oh my God, people are so crazy, I'm just going to give up. That's what they want. They don't care if you agree with them. They're not trying to change your mind. They just want you to fall into despair. And so the idea that we even have the means to make fuel from the air pushes back on nihilism. It gives us a possibility. And that gives us hope to live for a future that includes life. So how else would your life be different if you could just make your own fuel? Or maybe buy it from the farmer who's got a big field?
I got a question.
All right.
So what are the social economic repercussions of people having the individuality to make their own fuel at home?
Oh.
I'm sure Big Oil would not be too particularly happy about that.
Well, you know, the good thing is my doctor gave me 22 to 62 left to live. So, you know, some people say, oh, they're going to come and kill you. I'm like, get in line. I got 5 diseases in front of you. So, yeah, one of y'all's going to get me. But not today. Not today.
Not today.
That's right. But to answer your question, I'll get to you in a second.
sorry.
Let me just finish this.
thought you
This
were
is
done.
actually a really great question, because I'd say at least half of all of our wars and problems are because somebody is sitting on a resource and they're going to not make it easy to get. Well, what if
It's easy to
people
get.
are just making this stuff everywhere all over the world? You don't need a shipping machine. You don't need a pipe. You don't need the oligarchs. You just make it.
Yeah.
I mean, that would revolutionize so many things about our life here on Earth, and with other people, and with some people that are, you know, don't have the best intentions.
Yeah.
So what was your question, sir?
So, the economy is large. You're not going to change anything by selling a product or a process to one person at a time. You have to scale this. So how are you going to scale it? Do you have a website, or what are we talking about?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll probably be dead by the time it's scaled, so I got to kind of plan ahead. The good news for us is we already have examples in history where they did this. So, for example, we are at about the same state with synthetic fuels from the sun as photovoltaic panels were, say, in the late 50s, early 60s. Super expensive. You know, pretty much only NASA plays with solar panels. And there's one other group that played with solar panels. And I'll give you a hint. They bought these super expensive panels because the alternative was far worse. Because what happens is the police would subpoena the power company and look for big electric bills on small houses. So one guess what they were using those panels for.
Grow rooms.
That's right, grow rooms. So who could have predicted what had happened? The drug dealers had the cash flow, so they would push the envelope buying these super expensive panels in order to not use electricity, and they can't grow them outdoors in like downtown LA or something. So they got them inside, you know, and the grow lights are more controllable. So there's lots of reasons to do it with grow lights. So they could have their grow lights, but not show up on the power bills. And so they pushed the envelope. They said, I'm going to pay, you know, $1,000 per watt for a solar panel, because it'll pay off. I'm going to sell something that's so valuable, right? Now, obviously, the details will be different. But overall, I'll tell you as a fact that I've installed solar-powered houses way up in the mountains of Virginia, where the power company was going to charge them $50,000 to $80,000, sometimes $100,000 just to run the tap. And then they're paying a power bill every month. Well, at that point, it's worth paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a PV system, because it's the same price or cheaper than running the tap and no electric bill. See, so there's going to be situations like that where it's going to be worth it. Like some island way out in the Pacific is sick and tired of paying like, $30 a gallon for fuel to be shipped to them. Well, wow, why don't we just make it right here on the island? See, in their case, it would be worth the huge expense. And then as more and more people do it, just like more, the drug dealers bought more and more panels, the price came down. Eventually you hit a crossover point, and it's cheaper to make fuel from the air than it is to get it out of the ground. But we have to push it. They're not going to do it for profit because it's not profitable. It's a pilot program. It's cutting edge tech that's so cutting edge. I might be the only person you've heard of this from. It's likely. I scan the media and it gets very rare mention.
So tell again, what is it called? You have a website we can check out?
I am making a website, and so it's not ready for display yet. I was in the ER twice before I came out this year, so I was a little distracted. And then the threads in my cylinder block got stripped, so it was eating belts, blah, blah, blah. The usual burner story, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I was a little distracted. I didn't get the website together. But you could Google things like sustainable aircraft fuel. There are a few like scientific journals, and you could put your cell phone text number or email into my cell phone, and I will send you the peer-reviewed science links. Because I just made a huge claim. I made a tall claim.
Yes.
And unlike these people on YouTube, I have peer-reviewed science behind every bit of it. And I want people to know the details. Because, it's like the father that plants the olive tree seed. He will not live to see his son eat those olives, or daughter. And that's fine. That's just life. I'm here for the phytoplankton, and I need a team, because I cannot possibly do something like this alone. There's no way. I built radio stations and recycling programs, and they were very successful, but they absolutely were never a one-man show. Never. It was always a team effort. And by the way, that reminds me, Catch Zed over here is my compatriot videotaping. Thank you very much, everybody. She is going to do, she has come to me with the idea, it's her idea to come up with a kind of a clown show, basically, like a performer, like a, Cirque du Soleil kind of thing, to teach some of what I'm talking about to 12-year-old kids, because, let's face it, we're tired. It's going to be the kids that are really going to push this, because they want to live, they want to breathe oxygen, so, a lot of us are so locked into, if I do that, then I'm going to lose my job. Kids don't care about jobs, they don't know anything about it, right? Thankfully, until, a little later. But, I want to make this so simple. A 12-year-old can read a comic book on how to make fuel from the air using the sun. That's my goal. I want to leave Earth. When I go off into the void and finally can relax, I want there to be a comic book 12-year-olds can use to make fuel from the air. And I have an inspiration, another encouraging bit of American history. During World War II, the Amateur Radio Relay League has an ARRL handbook they put out every year. So during World War II, they said, we're gonna fall back from what we usually do. We usually write about whatever the latest tech is, and we're all gonna geek out on it. We're gonna make a new version of whatever. Well, this time they backed up and they said, we're gonna make a guide this year that will teach a farmer how to make receivers and transmitters out of whatever's laying around his farm. It's inspiring. I'm sorry I lost my copy. I believe it's the 1942 Amateur Radio Relay League book. And it's just inspiring to see somebody take the time to back up from their normal publication pattern and just we're going to teach people how to make useful things out of junk. And then there's different Muir wrote a beautiful illustrated book called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Keeping Your Volkswagen Alive. All hand drawings, beautiful, like anybody could repair their Volkswagen with this book. Absolutely inspired. Those are my inspirations. I am just the medium bringing you these ideas. I'm a shade tree engineer. I do invent things, but they're nothing as awesome as that. But I can build things. I can put things together that other people invented and make them work in different ways. I've already proven that. And that's why I'm the perfect person for this job. When somebody says, well, you're not qualified, you don't have an engineering degree, I said, that's right, and you can do it better than I did. Get on it.
I have a question. Can you explain in detail how the process works with the cerium oxide? How the heating element connects? What shape is the titanium tube? How would you build this?
Because we have not tested that, I'm going to drop back to the one they're already testing in Europe, and we're going to modify. but I'm going to go with the one that's already working in Europe, just so that it's, as honest as possibly can be, because that version is in process. So we don't know exactly what tweaks are needed. So the one in Europe uses a heliostat, which is a field of mirrors, takes the sun and reflects it up into basically a bowl that's got the cerium oxide on it. They pump the moist air in one end, and out the other end comes the syngas. So chemically how it works is, I'm not a chemist, so I'm not going to tell you the electron transfers and all that, but the cerium oxide functions as a catalyst. It's not consumed. It does heat and cool, so it crackles and falls off. So, maintenance, you got to put it back on. It's like any machine, it needs maintenance. So the moist air comes in, 1500 degrees Celsius, which I know is rather crispy, but, that's how these things go. If it was easy, somebody would have already done it. So the moist air comes in, it runs across the cerium oxide. At that temperature, it breaks apart the bonds of both the water and the carbon dioxide. It pops the oxygen off, becoming carbon monoxide, oxygen, and free hydrogen and oxygen, all of which is very nicely flammable. You then feed that into a redox set. That's complex enough that I'm going to get a chemist to build that for me. Plus, you can just buy already built redox sets, because humans have been making synthetic fuel with redox sets since World War II with things like gasified like the methane you get out of choked wood. You can choke the wood so that you get a gas out of it instead of just burning away. Stuff like that. Coal gasification, wood gasification, it's a similar equipment. So that's a proven technology. We've had redox sets since World War II. So we'll just get an old World War II redox set if necessary, feed it in there, and then you set it to put out kerosene. And we're going to start with kerosene because already in Europe, they already set theirs for kerosene. So I'm going to reinvent the wheel as few times as possible. So that in a gist is how the technology works. Now, of course, as with anything, there are tech details. But the gist is really not that complicated. You just run it across hot cerium oxide, and out the other end comes your syngas. I mean, in many ways, it's simpler than many of the other things we're already doing.
Syngas is short for synthetic gas, correct?
Syngas is short for synthetic gas, yes. And it literally, I mean a gas as in a gaseous state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need a heat source. Needs a heat source.
Well, in their case, it's the heliostat. You're reflecting the sun up into the bowl.
It's a hassle, though. So
yeah.
Can you use PV and generated electricity as your power source? Photovoltaic electricity?
Yes, there's some electricity involved, of course.
No,
I mean, you gotta have some pumps and things.
Can you use it
instead of a heliostat?
I'm not going to build a heliostat in my backyard, right?
You could, but if you're not, then you aren't.
It's too hazardous. I don't want to mess with that, but I can.
Okay.
I got PV panels lying around.
Right?
So I can use that.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because that is how I'm going to do the Moist Coast edition. See, the heliostat requires what's called coherent light. Coherent light means, I can see that you already know what I'm talking about, but just for the audience, coherent light is when light is coming in from the sun, it enters the atmosphere at, say, it's this orientation, and it maintains the same orientation all the way to the ground, hits the mirror, bounces up at, whatever orientation into your target, right? But in a moist coast or a place with a lot of haze, it's bouncing all over the place. So it's coming down into the panels from like 1,500 different angles, right? So mirrors don't do so good with non-coherent light. So the coherent light system of heliostats that they're using in Spain will work absolutely awesome around here. I mean, you can find mesas with 6,000 foot altitudes all over the place that are nice and close to a nice hot sun with good coherent light. But east of the Mississippi, not so much. It's very scattered. So yeah, in places that are moist, or like you said, your particular reasons, yeah, I think you could heat up the element with PV panels and then have some kind of resistive strip involved.
Resistive element.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not super efficient, but at this point, we're just going to get it started, and then just like any open source technology, you get one started, and some geek is going to come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, did you think of XYZ?" And you'll say, "No, I didn't. That's awesome. Let's try it." And then you try it and it doesn't work, but then you learn something, you try it again, and then it works, like on the third iteration or whatever. I mean, that's how Burning Man works.
Yeah, I think and you could use a heat pump to heat things up. I'm just not sure we have heat pumps that can get to 15.
No, we don't yet. Not that I'm aware of.
It's a pretty sophisticated machine.
Now that would be a fascinating experiment. Can we make a heat pump that gets to 1,500 degrees Celsius?
You're gonna have several steps, probably.
Yeah, probably.
You get something from like ambient to 200C or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you have a second one that goes to a higher
And then
level.
you'd have different work
Probably have to have
for each
like
stage, yeah.
something like that. It's
Yeah,
pretty
right. You'd eventually
complicated.
end up with like liquid sodium salts or something.
Something like that.
which is being used at Ivanpah, and starts with a T. It's in Nevada. I can't get the name of the town in my head, but there's 2 big heliostats that use liquid sodium, liquid salt.
Turlock or something.
That's it. Tonopah. Yeah, Tonopah. So if you drive by Tonopah or Ivanpah, you can see them right from the highway. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I'm really into this, and I'm kind of like feeling into some of the questions you're asking. It's like the scale questions, the industrial questions, as somebody who would like to support it. Like, I'm never going to build this in my backyard. I don't have a backyard. to build it,
That's right. Not everybody has the square acreage.
But like, what could be a method that would scale and still be open source, still community? So I'm starting to think like
I'm using nonprofit.
co-ops. You know,
I'm going to start with a nonprofit that I've been gifted. I've been gifted. In the burner tradition, I've been gifted a nonprofit called Indie Labs, and we just got our 501c3 stuff straightened out. And now I'm working on the banking, and I've got a bank account, and now I'm trying to hook up all the pieces so we can do Facebook fundraisers. And you know how Facebook is. You're lucky if you ever reach a human. And of course, it doesn't work right the first time. So there's details. We're working through them. So yeah, definitely. There's going to be co-ops. There's going to be nonprofits. I mean, honestly, what I've seen out in the world is that there should never be only one way, because that leaves you vulnerable to whatever the flaws of that one way are. There should be for-profit companies, there should be churches, there should be islands, there should be governments, there should be nonprofits, there should be every kind of organization we can think of trying to do this.
follow-up question seems a little, maybe it's a little obvious, but how about next year here at Burning Man?
That would be amazing. I would love it.
We're
The
doing
only
it.
problem might be the dust, so we might be doing it up the hill over there.
Yeah, all right.
And then, bring it down the hill.
What if we could clean off the dust?
Well, the problem is it would get all over the cerium oxide on the inside. And then you got to open the thing up.
Can you put it in a glass container?
Well, you have to feed it air. Yeah, it's got
Through a
dust in
filter?
it. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's like, if it's on the ground, people can see it.
I do want to make a demonstrator model
Yeah.
that would fit on this stage. That's my first big project, physically speaking, is to build a 5-foot-long model. Basically, it's 5 feet, so it'll fit in my car.
Yeah.
Really, that's the honest truth. I want it 5 feet because then it fits in my car. And I got a little turbo diesel that gets like almost 50 miles per gallon. So, I can kind of walk the walk. I come to you with a diesel car, and I'm like, I could run this car off of this stuff.
I mean, if I may, for your pitch here, it's like, you're talking to burners.
Yeah.
You're like, why don't we build this next year?
We could.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
All right, I need a ceramicist. Who can make me something that looks like a cactus and can be heated up and down for 1,500 degrees over and over without cracking.
I bet there's an artist out here.
I bet there is. I just haven't met them yet. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our first thing.
Okay.
We need a ceramicist. And, some money. I don't need a ton of money. It costs them 6 million euros to do it their way. I don't have a big hungry staff with children. I'm a terminally ill guy. What would I do with money? I don't need money. It needs money.
An art honorarium.
Yeah.
Art and honorarium.
Yeah.
Yeah, make this art.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I even think I know somebody who could help me with that. Yeah, okay. I still need a ceramicist.
Another question.
Say again, please.
Another question. So, syngas or synthetic fuels, you can use some kind of furnace to get that temperature. So it's a catalyst process. Can it generate more fuel than it would take the amount of energy to produce it?
No,
That's
that
a
would be a
tricky
perpetual
question.
motion machine, and I have never seen any such thing.
No, it's not perpetual motion. You're getting the material from the air.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying. No, the bonds are very difficult to break apart.
So
which
you're
is-
not, even though it's a catalyst, you're not able to get more energy
No.
out of the process than
No,
it takes
no,
to create it. So it's just straight across chemistry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm not selling magic here. This is real chemistry. It's absolutely sucking up energy. I mean, everything we're doing here is sucking up energy. Oh, I see. I got the 2-minute mark. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. It's good to keep me, reined in a little bit. Is there any questions that I haven't answered, or thoughts that anybody wants to come up with?
What is the process that you use to convert, to improve the gas mileage on your car from like 10 miles a gallon to 74 miles a gallon?
Oh my God, I cannot fit that into 1.5 minutes. The short version is an engine is a rhythmic instrument, just like an orchestra. And so what you want to do is you want to create helpful constructive and destructive wave formations just like an orchestra does to make music. In this case, the music is high fuel economy.
That was a good answer.
It's such a burner way to go, right? It's like the engine is basically a drum set. You know, if you can syncopate it, man, you can go far.
So it's a matter of like just fine tuning the rhythm of the engine.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Pretty much, yeah, that would be a short version. There's obviously a lot of tech detail into how you do that, but yes, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
You work with what you've got to make it syncopate.
We're gonna talk more later.
Yeah, oh definitely. I think it's time for the next speaker.
Woo!
Thank y'all very much, and fossil fuel sovereignty! Fossil fuel sovereignty!
Hell yes.
Thank you.